In the shadow of 20th century Europe, Czechoslovakia quietly built its own tanks. From sleek, compact light tanks to bold projects that existed only on paper, this video will take you through the full story. From the earliest vehicles to designs that never had the chance to roll into battle. Let's begin the light tank. This light-tracked tank was developed using the chassis of the Hanomag WD-50 tractor. It never entered military service, as testing results deemed it already obsolete. LTVZ-35, developed by Škoda. This vehicle served in the Czechoslovak army in a cavalry and infantry support role. From 1936 to 1937, 298 units were produced. LTVZ-38. Developed by KD's design team in 1938, this light tank served with the Wehrmacht under the designation PZ KPFW-38T. It was regarded as Czechoslovakia's best armored vehicle. A total of 1,400 tanks across 8 variants were produced. Panzerwagen 39. This vehicle was developed by KD and adapted from the TNH tank to meet Swiss requirements. The project used the Swiss engine and the Swiss 24mm Panzerwagen Kanon 1938 rapid-firing gun. A total of 24 units were produced, and they were regularly used by the Swiss Army until 1948. A reconnaissance tank project by the arms manufacturer Škoda works. Development began in the summer of 1940, and the first Škoda T-15 prototypes appeared in October and December of that same year. In comparative trials, the tank ranked third, behind the PZ.SP.WG, Deluxe and the PZ.KPFW.38N.A. Nevertheless, work continued, leading to an improved version, the Škoda T15A. Several designs were drawn up and a wooden mock-up was produced, but no prototype was ever built. Working closely with the Military Technical Institute, Škoda's design bureau began work on the Škoda T-17 tank project. It featured a hull and turret reminiscent of the Soviet IS-3 heavy tank. The vehicle was intended to have strong armor for a light tank and a 75mm gun. There were plans to install a more powerful 500 horsepower engine, but for various reasons, the project never progressed beyond the design stage. At the time, developing a medium tank became the top priority. A Czechoslovak light reconnaissance tank developed as a counterpart to West Germany's SBF Panzer concept, also a light reconnaissance vehicle. Work was carried out under the KLUS project. The Soviet Union and other Warsaw Pact countries had no comparable vehicle at the time. However, after the SEPE Panzer program in Germany was discontinued, and because the design was incompatible with the weapons systems used by Warsaw Pact forces, the project remained only on paper. To counter Western Europe's program for air-transportable tanks, SFP Panzer, Czechoslovakia considered several weapon options for its own light vehicles. The most promising was a twin-barrel 30-57mm autocannon, firing ammunition with improved penetration. The new tank was required to have high mobility and heavily sloped armor to ensure battlefield survivability. The project did not enter production for economic reasons. The LPT-67 Zelma, a Czechoslovak light tank, was a variant of the German SPF Panzer concept. Its frontal armor was reinforced, and a powerful diesel engine was fitted to provide the required mobility. The chassis was also distinctive, featuring 6 single road wheels, 3 return rollers per side, and hydraulic shock absorbers. A pair of high-velocity 50mm guns provided strong firepower. The project was ultimately cancelled for technical and economic reasons. VZ-71, Tesac. One development option for light tank projects featured a versatile armament, including a twin-barrel auto-loading gun. The vehicle was designed to serve both as a flexible, highly mobile reconnaissance vehicle and as a support tank capable of flanking attacks and delivering rapid-fire shots. By the time the designs were completed, the Army no longer had a requirement for the VZ-71, so no prototype was ever built. Medium tank. The V8H was the result of further development of the PS2B medium tank and the P2B light infantry support tank. The vehicle underwent testing from the summer of 1937 to the spring of 1938. and additional trials were conducted in the autumn of 1938. After all, technical issues were resolved. The V8H entered service under the designation St. VZ.39. However, it was never developed in Czechoslovakia during the period of German occupation for the Wehrmacht in 1941. This project was characterized by sloped armor and a more powerful armament inspired by the Soviet T-34. However, it was considered obsolete and no prototype was ever built. Development of the T-40 tank was proposed by Koda under the TVP Universal Tank Program in 1946. It was to be armed with a main gun derived from the Germans' famous 88mm weapon. However, no prototype was ever built. A development project based on the Soviet T-34-85, proposed in April 1954. Under the plan, the Czechoslovak version would have used a 100mm gun and a larger turret. Production was intended to begin in 1955, but it never became a reality. A medium tank project proposed by Koda under a Czechoslovak Universal Combat Vehicle concept. No prototype was ever built. An experimental variant of a post-war Czechoslovak light tank, notable for an auto-loading gun. It existed only on paper. The Koda T-27 was similar to the T-17 light tank project. This was the result of further research into Czechoslovakia's post-war universal tank concept. The project was developed by Koda in 1947. By 1948, major changes had been introduced, including plans to arm it with a 100mm gun. However, the project was cancelled after a full-scale wooden mock-up had been completed. In the late 1950s, the Czechoslovak army drew up requirements for a new heavy tank, intended to be superior to anything fielded in the past. The designers planned to equip it with twin guns to significantly increase the rate of fire. Preliminary calculations showed that the two guns and the full ammunition load would overload the chassis. In addition, the tank proved difficult to maintain and expensive to produce. The project was cancelled before a prototype was built.